In the pre-dawn stillness of Route 27, where the highway stretches like a ribbon through the heart of a small, fading town, Ruby's place is a beacon of stubborn hope. At 3:00 a.m., Lila Thompson, a 38-year-old Black American woman, moves through her empty diner with the grace of someone who's carried a dream, heavier than the flour sacks she hefts. Her black braids are pulled back in a practical bun, a few strands clinging to her sweaty forehead, as she kneads dough on a steel counter worn smooth by years of her mother's hands. The air smells of butter cinnamon and fresh coffee, a comforting trio that fills the silence of the diner's 6 red booths, their vinyl gleaming faintly under the fluorescent lights. The neon sign outside flickers, casting a red glow on the wet asphalt, a quiet rebellion against the darkness, pressing against the windows. Lila inherited Ruby's place 12 years ago. After her mother, Ruby Thompson, passed away from a sudden illness at 54. Ruby was the heart of this diner, opened in 1952 as Ruby's Roadside, a rare Black-owned haven for travelers in a segregated era. Lila was only 26, then stepping into her mother's apron with a mix of grief and determination. The town, primarily white and clinging to old ways, watched her with skepticism. A young Black woman running a diner in a place where change comes slow, if at all. The economic decline, spurred by a new highway bypass, hasn't helped. Bills pile up on Lila's desk, their due dates looming like storm clouds. The jukebox in the corner hasn't played since yesterday. Its silence reminds me of the customers who've dwindled to a handful of loyal truckers. Yet Lila bakes her hands, moving through flour with muscle memory, following Ruby's apple pie recipe to the letter, 45 minutes at 375 degrees, no rushing, or the crust won't flake just right. Her mother's voice echoes, "Pie brings people together, baby, even in hard times." Ruby fed truckers stranded by storms, families down on their luck, and travelers who found solace in her warm booths. Lila clings to that legacy, though its weight presses hard. Her fingers sore from hours of kneading bare, a bandage stained with cherry filling. The bank statement in her office shows more red than black, and suppliers are raising prices again. She pushes the thoughts aside, focusing on the oven's hum, the promise of golden pies. This diner is more than a business. It's her mother's dream, her inheritance, her fight to keep a light on in a town that's all but given up. At 4:45 a.m., the bell above the door rings, and a stranger walks in. A white American man in his 40s, named Ethan Carter, with his leather jacket and heavy boots, marking him as an outsider. His arrival will spark a story of mystery, connection, and resilience that'll unfold right here in Ruby's place. But for now, Lila works alone, her dark skin catching the light as she shapes dough, her heart steady despite the odds. This is her story, and it's just beginning. If you're moved by Lila's grit and Ruby's legacy, drop a like to show love for real diners and dreams. Comment below. Have you ever found a place like Ruby's place, where a slice of pie feels like home? And if you want to see where this tale leads, hit that subscribe button to join us for part 2. Let's keep the light on together. The clock above the counter in Ruby's place ticks toward 4:45 a.m., its faint click blending with the oven's hum and the coffee pot's drip. Lila Thompson wipes flour from her hands, her apron dusted white, as she slides a tray of apple pies from the oven. Their golden crusts gleam under the fluorescent lights filling the diner, with a warm, cinnamon-laced scent that battles the morning chill seeping through the windows. The 6 red booths remain empty, their vinyl surfaces reflecting the flickering neon sign outside, casting a soft red glow across the wet asphalt of Route 27. Lila's fingers linger on the edge of the tray, and her mother's recipe is a quiet ritual that anchors her in this struggling diner. The silence is heavy, broken only by the distant rumble of a truck on the highway, its headlights never slowing for her open sign. Then, the bell above the door jangles sharp and sudden. Lila's head snaps up, her heart quickening. A man steps inside, his heavy boots thudding on the linoleum floor. In a worn black leather jacket, Ethan Carter holds a motorcycle helmet in one hand, the other tucked into his pocket. His face weathered with 3 days of stubble scans, the empty diner. His eyes pausing on the kitchen window where Lila stands. He moves with a quiet purpose, choosing the booth closest to the counter, its vinyl creaking as he sits. Lila grabs the coffee pot, her hand steady despite the flutter in her chest. Strangers at this hour are rare bikers, even rarer in this small town where familiarity breeds trust and outsiders breed suspicion. Coffee. Lila asks, her voice echoing in the stillness. Ethan nods, his gaze fixed on the kitchen window, not meeting her eyes. She pours the dark liquid steaming into a chipped white mug. Menu, she offers, but he shakes his head, his voice rough and low like gravel under tires. Apple pie if you've got it. Lila nods, returning to the kitchen to cut a slice and add a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Her mother's rule pie without ice cream is like a song without a melody. She sets the plate before him, noticing how his fingers, calloused and stained with faint traces of motor oil, grip the fork. He eats slowly, each bite deliberate, his eyes never leaving the kitchen window, as if searching for something beyond the glass. Lila busies herself behind the counter, wiping an already clean surface. But her thoughts churn. The town's whispers about outsiders echo in her mind. Stories of troublemakers passing through, leaving chaos in their wake. Ruby's place. Once a haven for travelers under her mother's watch, now teeters on the edge of survival. A lone biker at 4:45 a.m. feels like a portent, though, of what Lila can't say. Ethan's presence is a puzzle. His silence is louder than words. He doesn't touch the coffee, letting it sit until the steam fades. When he finishes the pie, he pulls a crumpled 20 from his jacket, far more than the cost, and slides it under the plate. Keep the change, he mutters, standing to leave. His boots echo as he crosses to the door, helmet under his arm. Lila watches through the window as he straddles a black Harley parked under the neon sign. The engine roars to life, a deep growl that vibrates through the diner's walls, and he rides east toward the first hints of dawn painting the horizon orange. She clears the booth, the coffee still full, now cold. The generous tip feels heavy in her hand, less like kindness and more like a question she doesn't know how to answer. Why here? Why now? The bell's echo lingers, and Lila feels the weight of something shifting, something bigger than a single customer, something that might change Ruby's place forever. She returns to the kitchen, checks the prep list, and adds an extra apple pie for tomorrow. Whatever Ethan Carter is seeking, she senses he'll be back, and she'll be ready, her mother's pies, her only armor against the unknown. The morning sun creeps over Route 27, painting the asphalt shades of orange, but inside Ruby's place, the air feels heavier than the dawn. Lila Thompson wipes down the counter, her cloth catching on a familiar rough spot as the scent of fresh apple pies lingers from the oven. The diner's red booths sit empty, the jukebox silent, its chrome edges dulled by dust. Outside, the neon sign hums faintly, a stubborn pulse, in a town that's been fading since the highway bypass stole its traffic a decade ago. Lila's hands move mechanically, her mother's recipes a lifeline, but the weight of unpaid bills in her office presses harder each day. The coffee pot gurgles, ready for customers who haven't come. At 4:45 a.m., the bell jangles right on time. Ethan Carter strides in his leather jacket, creaking helmet tucked under his arm. His boots echo on the linoleum as he claims his usual booth by the kitchen window, his eyes locking onto the glass like it holds a secret. Lila pours his coffee, without asking, the mug steaming between them. Apple pie. She asks, her voice steady, despite the knot in her stomach. He nods, his stubble catching the light, his gaze unwavering. She serves the slice with a scoop of vanilla ice cream, noting how he eats, slow, methodical, as if savoring more than the pie. The coffee sits untouched, growing cold, and the 20 he leaves under the plate is too much like yesterday. He rides off on his Harley, the engine's roar fading into the dawn, leaving Lila with questions that cling like flour to her fingers. By 6:00 a.m., the regulars trickle in, truckers who've known Ruby's place since her mother's days. Frank, a gruff man with a salt and pepper beard, slides into a booth with two others, their eyes darting to Ethan's empty seat. A small and predominantly white town has always been wary of change. The bypass gutted its economy, closing shops and fueling resentment toward outsiders and toward Lila, who took over the diner when her mother died. Whispers start low, but Lila catches them. "Never seen that biker before," Frank mutters, sipping coffee. "Andy at the gas station says he's in trouble casing the place." His friend nods, glancing at Lila. "Ain't safe a woman alone here." Lila keeps her back straight, pouring refills, but the words sting. Her mother's voice echoes. "Judge people by actions, not rumors." Ethan's actions, quiet, generous. Strange, don't add to trouble, but they don't add to trust. The whispers spread like wildfire in dry grass. By noon, the diner's quieter than usual. Mary Chen from the hardware store peeks in, sees Ethan's booth, and leaves without a word. The lunch rush, usually a handful of locals, is just one older man, who orders toast and hurries out. Lila's receipts are thin, and the register is lighter than yesterday. She overhears Frank at the counter. Andy says that the biker's been seen in other towns, always at diners, always alone. What's he want with Lila's place? The question hangs unanswered. Lila thinks of her mother, who faced worse sneers, threats, even a broken window once for running a black-owned diner in a town like this. Ruby never closed, never bowed. Lila won't either, but the emptiness of the booths feels like a betrayal. That evening, as Lila mops the floor, the bell rings again. Ethan stands in the doorway, his silhouette framed by the fading light. "We're closed," Lila says, her voice sharper than intended. "Tomorrow morning," he replies, his tone flat, but not unkind. "You'll have apple pie." She nods, and he leaves, the bell's chime lingering. Lila locks the door, her hands steady, but her heart racing. She adds extra pies to tomorrow's prep list, sensing Ethan's return is more than routine. The town's suspicion is a growing shadow threatening to choke Ruby's place. Lila looks at the empty booths and the silent jukebox and wonders what her mother would do. She'd bake, Lila knows, and keep the light on. So Lila does too, but the whispers echo louder, and she feels the diner slipping further from her grasp. The fluorescent lights of Ruby's place hum softly as Lila Thompson sweeps the linoleum floor, the broom's rhythmic scrape a counterpoint to the quiet of closing time. The red booths gleam empty, the jukebox silent, and the neon sign outside casts its red glow across Route 27's damp asphalt. The scent of apple pies baked for tomorrow lingers in the air, a reminder of her mother's recipes that keep Lila tethered to this struggling diner. The day's receipts were light again, the whispers of the town, fueled by Ethan Carter's daily visits, driving customers away. Lila's hands tightened on the broom, and her mother's words echoed, "Judge people by actions, not rumors." But Ethan's actions, his silent stares, untouched coffee, and generous tips remain a riddle she can't solve. As she cleans Ethan's usual booth, her fingers brush a folded piece of paper tucked between the napkin holder and the wall. She unfolds it under the counter's light, a worn map crisscrossed with red circles marking diners across the country: Maine, Ohio, Chicago, dozens more, each with handwritten notes in tight slanted script. Some read best genuine blueberry pie, or chrome counters, which are soul. Lila's breath catches. The map is a clue to Ethan's morning pilgrimages. She should toss it and leave it for him to reclaim, but curiosity pulls harder. She tucks it into her apron, locking the diner with a glance at the dark highway. The map weighs heavily as she heads to the kitchen, spreading it across the counter beside her unpaid bills. The next morning at 4:45 a.m., the bell jangles. Ethan enters, his leather jacket damp from early mist and helmet under his arm. He takes his booth eyes fixed on the kitchen window as always. Lila pours his coffee, her pulse quickening, and slides the map onto the table. "Found this last night," she says, her voice firm but edged with questions. Ethan's hand pauses mid-air, his weathered face tightening. For a moment, silence stretches, broken only by the coffee pot's faint drip. Then he speaks, his voice low and rough. "It was my brother's. Caleb. He wanted to visit every great diner in America and rate their pies." He pulls a worn photo from his wallet, a younger man grinning in front of a restaurant with red booths, holding a slice of pie. Lila's heart stutters. The restaurant in the photo is Ruby's roadside, her mother's place, which closed 12 years ago after Ruby's illness drained their savings. Caleb was here. Lila asks, her fingers tracing the map's edge. Ethan nods, his eyes distant. Summer of '99. He was 19, riding cross-country on a beat-up Honda. "I got caught in a storm, had no money, and had no plan. Your mom fed him apple pie, wouldn't take a dime." He taps a red circle on the map, labeled Ruby's Roadside Route 16. Best apple pie this side of heaven. Lila's throat tightens. She remembers that stormy night, peeking from the kitchen at 8 years old, watching her mother slide a plate to a skinny kid, saying, "Nobody goes hungry in a storm." That kindness shaped Lila's resolve to keep Ruby's place open, despite the town's doubts and her dwindling funds. Ethan's voice softens. Caleb got sick with cancer fast. Died 6 months after his diagnosis. Never finished his dream. He folds the photo away, his fingers lingering on the wallet's cracked leather. "I'm trying to finish it for him." Lila studies the map, its lines connecting diners like stars in a constellation. Ruby's place isn't marked, which is a fact that stings. "Why here then?" she asks, her voice sharper than intended. Ethan meets her gaze for the first time, his eyes carrying a weight she can't name. "I had to see if it was still her place. If you were her daughter." He leaves his usual 20 stands and walks to his Harley, the engine's roar fading into the dawn. Lila stares at the map, its red circles a testament to a dream cut short. The connection to her mother feels like a gift and a burden. Ruby's kindness reached a stranger, but now Ethan's presence threatens the diner's survival. The bell rings as Frank the trucker enters, his eyes narrowing at the empty booth. "That biker again," he mutters. Lila tucks the map away, her resolve hardening. She'll bake more pies, keep the coffee hot, and face whatever comes. But the map's secret has cracked something open, and she knows Ethan's next visit will bring more than pie and silence. The dusk settles over Route 27. Like a heavy curtain, the neon sign of Ruby's place, flickering against the fading light. Lila Thompson locks the diner's door, the jangle of keys sharp in the quiet. The red booths inside are empty, the jukebox silent, and the scent of apple pies cooling on the counter lingers like a fading promise. Ethan Carter's map, with its red circles and notes, rests in her apron pocket, a weight that pulls her thoughts to her mother's legacy and the stranger who carries it. But the town's whispers, stirred by Ethan's daily visits, have grown louder, driving customers away. The day's receipts barely cover the cost of flour, and the pile of bills on Lila's desk grows taller, each envelope a reminder of how close Ruby's place is to slipping away. As Lila sweeps the floor, the bell rings unexpectedly. She stiffens, expecting Ethan, but it's Frank the trucker, his face grim. "Lila folks are talking," he says, glancing at the empty booth where Ethan sits each morning. "Andy's been at the gas station saying the biker's bad news. He says, that's why business is down." Lila's jaw tightens. Andy, whose company has suffered since the highway bypass rerouted traffic, has quickly blamed outsiders and Lila for the town's woes. "Andy doesn't know Ethan," she says, her voice steady. "He's a customer same as you." Frank shakes his head. "Just be careful. A woman running this place alone. It ain't safe." He leaves the bell's chime echoing like a warning. That night, as Lila counts the register's meager take, a crash shatters the silence. Glass sprays across the floor, a brick landing among the shards of the diner's front window. Lila's heart pounds as she grabs a broom, her hands shaking. Tied to the brick is a note scrawled in red, "Get out." Outside tires squeal, and headlights vanish into the dark Andy's pickup, she's sure. She sweeps the glass, her movements angry, determined. This isn't the first time Ruby's place has been targeted. He stays helping Lila clean the remaining glass, their silence a quiet alliance. Lila shares a piece of her story as they work, her voice steady despite the ache. "I was 25 when I took over. Mom died, left me this place and a stack of debts. The town didn't think I could do it, a woman alone in a place like this. Still don't some of them." She gestures to the cardboard-covered window. "But Mom kept this diner open through worse storms, riots, and hate. I won't let them shut me down now." Ethan nods, stacking shards in a dustpan. "Caleb would have liked her," he says, almost to himself. "He wrote about people like that, folks who keep going no matter what." By sunrise, the diner is tidy, but the booths remain empty. Frank and another trucker come in, their eyes lingering on the cardboard. "Heard about the window," Frank says, his tone softer. "Andy's stirring folks up. Be careful, Lila." She serves their coffee, her resolve hardening. The map in her pocket feels heavier, tying her to Ethan's brother, her mother's kindness, and a fight she won't abandon. As Ethan leaves his Harley roaring into the dawn, Lila knows the town's anger isn't just about him, it's about her too, and everything Ruby's place stands for. She'll bake more pies, keep the light on, and face whatever comes next, but the broken glass is a warning. The storm is far from over. The early morning air carries a chill as Lila Thompson unlocks Ruby's place, the neon sign humming faintly against the pre-dawn dark of Route 27. Cardboard patches the broken front window, a stark reminder of last night's vandalism. A brick, a hateful note, and the town's growing resentment. Inside, the red booths gleam under fluorescent lights, empty except for the echo of her mother's recipes in the scent of cooling apple pies. Lila's hands move through the familiar rhythm of brewing coffee, but her thoughts linger on Ethan Carter's map tucked in her apron, its red circles linking her diner to a stranger's dream. The weight of unpaid bills and dwindling customers presses hard, but she clings to her mother's words. Keep the light on, baby, for anyone who needs it. At 4:45 a.m., the bell jangles. Ethan steps in his leather jacket, dusted with mist, and helmet under his arm. His weathered face carries a shadow of unease as he glances at the cardboard-covered window. He takes his usual booth eyes fixed on the kitchen as Lila pours his coffee. "Pie?" she asks, her voice steady but searching. He nods, and she serves a slice with vanilla ice cream, watching him eat slowly, the coffee untouched as always. The silence between them feels heavier today, charged with the map's secrets and the town's anger. Lila slides into the booth across from him, the vinyl creaking. "Tell me about Caleb," she says, her tone soft but firm. "Why this diner? Why now?" Ethan's fingers pause on the fork, his gaze dropping to the table. For a moment he's still. Then he pulls a small, worn leather notebook from his jacket. Caleb's diary, he calls it. Ethan says he started this when he was a kid. His voice rough with something raw, dreamed of hitting every diner in America, tasting their pies, writing their stories. He opens the diary to a page dated summer 1999. The handwriting messy, but clear. Lila leans in, reading Ruby's roadside Route 16. Stormy night, broke and hungry. A lady named Ruby gave me an apple pie, no charge. Her daughter watched from the kitchen, learning to bake. That pie saved my faith in people. Lila's breath catches. She was that girl, 8 years old, peeking from behind the counter as her mother slid a plate to a skinny kid caught in a downpour. Your mom. Ethan continues, his voice quieter now. She told Caleb, nobody goes hungry in a storm. He never forgot it. I carried that night with him and wrote it here. He taps the page, his fingers trembling slightly. Cancer took him fast, 6 months from diagnosis to gone. I was supposed to go with him and finish his list. Never did. Too busy, then too late. His eyes meet Lila's, carrying a grief he's kept buried. Found this diner by chance. I had to know if it was hers, or if you were her daughter. Lila's throat tightens, memories flooding back, her mother's laugh, her hands shaping dough, her insistence on kindness, even when the town turned cold. Ruby's roadside closed after her illness. The medical bills were too much, but its spirit lives in Ruby's place, in Lila's pies. Why keep coming? Lila asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan closes the diary, his jaw tight. Caleb's dream was more than pies. It was about places like this where people find something real. I'm trying to feel him again through this. He gestures to the diner, the map, and the pie. Lila looks at the cardboard window and the empty booths. Ethan's presence has cost her customers, fueled Andy's anger, yet his story stitches her past to present. She says this place is all I have, her voice steady despite the ache. Mom fought to keep it open. Hate hard times didn't matter. I'm fighting too, but it's slipping. Ethan nods, his eyes holding hers. Caleb would have fought for a place like this. As Ethan leaves, his Harley's roar fading into the dawn, Lila unfolds the map again. Ruby's roadside is marked, but Ruby's place isn't a gap that stings. The bell rings as Frank enters, his eyes flicking to the empty booth. That biker's trouble, Lila, he warns. She tucks the diary's words into her heart, her resolve hardening. The town's fear. Andy's threats. The broken window, they won't break her. She'll bake more pies, keep the coffee hot, and hold on to the dream that ties her to her mother and Caleb. But the air feels charged, and the storm is closer than ever. The morning light filters through the cardboard covering Ruby's place's broken window, casting patchy shadows across the red booths. Lila Thompson preps the counter, the scent of fresh coffee mingling with cooling cherry pies, their crusts golden from her mother's recipe. The jukebox sits silent, the linoleum floor scuffed from last night's cleanup after the vandalism. A brick, a hateful note, and the town's fear of Ethan Carter's daily visits. Lila's fingers trace the edge of Caleb's map, tucked beside her. Its red circles, a bridge between her mother's legacy and a stranger's dream. The diner's receipts are thinner each day, and the weight of unpaid bills is heavier. But Lila keeps moving, her mother's words, steadying her. Keep the light on for anyone who needs it. At 4:45 a.m., the bell jangles. But it's not just Ethan this time. He enters, a leather jacket damp from dawn mist and a helmet under his arm. A woman follows him in a red leather jacket, her gray hair pulled into a tight braid. She's smaller, her face lined with quiet strength, carrying a worn leather notebook. Ethan nods to Lila. This is Maggie, Caleb's widow. Lila pauses, coffee pot in hand, her pulse quickening. The woman steps forward, eyes scanning the diner with recognition and sorrow. "Heard about your trouble," Maggie says, glancing at the cardboard window. "Jack told me everything, your mom, Caleb's diary, this place." She sets the notebook on the counter, its pages bulging with notes and photos. Lila pours coffee for both, her hands steady, despite the questions swirling. "Caleb's diary?" she asks, eyeing the notebook. Maggie nods, opening it to a familiar page. Ruby's Roadside, 1999. The night her mother fed a hungry kid in a storm. "Caleb loved diners like yours," Maggie says, her voice warm but tinged with grief. "Places with soul, where food means more than a meal. He wrote about your mom's pie and how it gave him hope." She flips to another entry, a photo of Caleb grinning in a Kansas diner. "We met in one like this. He proposed over cherry pie and said diners were where dreams lived." Her fingers linger on the page, her loss as raw as Ethan's. Maggie explains she runs the Diner Rider blog, a tribute to Caleb's dream of celebrating authentic eateries. She says that when Ethan told me about Ruby's place, I had to come. "Your diner's part of Caleb's story. It belongs on the map." She pulls out her phone, showing a post she drafted, a photo of Ruby's place, its neon sign glowing with a caption about its pies and heart. "I've got readers, bikers, travelers who'd ride miles for a place like this. Let me post it. Bring them here." Lila hesitates, glancing at the cardboard window. Andy's threats and the town's suspicion loom large. "More strangers might make things worse," she says. Maggie's eyes soften. Or better. Caleb believed diners could change people. Let's see if he was right. Lila shares a memory, her voice quiet. "Mom used to bake extra pies for truckers stuck in town during storms. She'd say food was love made visible. Even when folks whispered about her, she kept the doors open." Maggie nods, her braid catching the light. "That's why I'm here. Caleb's dream wasn't just his, it's ours now." Ethan's silent until now speaks up. She's right. Caleb would have fought for this place. Lila looks at the notebook, the map, and the empty booths. The town's anger threatens to break her, but Maggie's offer feels like a lifeline, fragile but real. "Post it," Lila says, her resolve firming. "Let's see who comes." As Ethan and Maggie leave their motorcycles roaring into the dawn, Lila unfolds the map. Ruby's Roadside is marked a red circle of memory, but Ruby's place remains blank. She adds a pie to tomorrow's prep list, her mother's words echoing louder. The bell rings as Frank enters, his eyes wary. "Heard you had company," he mutters, glancing at the cardboard. "Andy's still talking, Lila. Be careful." She nods, tucking the diary's hope into her heart. Maggie's blog could bring allies or more trouble. But Lila won't close. The diner's light stays on, the coffee stays hot, and the promise of Caleb's dream stirs something new, a spark of hope in the face of a gathering storm. The night wraps Route 27 in a heavy darkness, broken only by the flickering neon of Ruby's place. Inside, Lila Thompson wipes down the counter, the scent of fresh peach pies mingling with coffee's bitter tang. Cardboard patches the broken front window, a scar from the town's anger at Ethan Carter's presence. The red booths sit empty, the jukebox silent, but Caleb's diary rests beside Lila, its pages a testament to her mother's kindness and a dream that binds her to Ethan and Maggie. Maggie's Diner Rider blog post went live hours ago, promising to draw bikers to support the diner. But Lila's heart races with unease. Andy's threats loom, and the quiet feels calm before a storm. At 11:30 p.m., engines rumble outside, not the low growl of motorcycles, but the heavy grind of trucks. Lila peers through the cardboard, counting 5 headlights in the parking lot. Andy's pickup leads, his silhouette clear, as he steps out, a baseball bat in hand. 4 others follow, carrying chains and pipes, their faces shadowed but tense. Lila's stomach twists. This is more than a brick through a window. The bell jangles as Ethan and Maggie rush in from the back, alerted by a local's call. "Stay inside," Maggie says, her braid swinging as she pulls out her phone. "I've got friends coming." Lila grips the counter, her mother's words steadying her. "Diners are neutral ground, baby. Keep the doors open." The diner's door swings open as Frank the trucker enters, his eyes wide. Lila, Andy's group. They're planning something sinister. I tried talking sense, but they're riled up. Before Lila can respond, motorcycles roar into the lot, 10, then 20, their chrome glinting under the neon. Maggie's blog has worked. Bikers from across the state, drawn by Caleb's dream, form a protective line around Ruby's place. Their leather jackets gleam faces, set with quiet resolve. Lila steps to the door, Caleb's diary in hand, her pulse hammering. Andy's group hesitates, weapons lowered, as the bikers stand firm, a wall of solidarity. Frank moves outside, joining a handful of locals, regulars who've eaten Lila's pies for years, who pull up in trucks and cars. They form a human barrier between Andy's crew and the diner, their presence a silent rebuke. Lila steps onto the porch, the diary heavy in her hands. "Listen," she calls, her voice cutting through the night. She opens the diary to a page Caleb wrote. "Diners are neutral ground, truckers, bikers, strangers, share the same pie, find common ground." Her words carry clear and strong. "This place has been here since '52, feeding anyone who walked in. My mom never turned anyone away, and neither will I. You want to break it? You'll break what holds us together." Andy raises his bat, his face twisted with frustration. His gas stations decline, the town's fading prospects all pinned on Lila and Ethan. But Frank steps forward, his voice low. "Enough, Andy. Ruby helped my wife when she was sick and brought pies to the hospital. Lila's doing the same, keeping this place alive. You're fighting the wrong fight." The locals nod their line, unwavering. Ethan stands beside Lila, his silence a steady presence. Maggie joins them, her phone recording the scene for her blog, capturing the diner's stand. Andy's eyes dart from the bikers to the locals, his grip loosening. His group lowers their weapons one by one, retreating to their trucks. Andy lingers, then drops his bat, climbing into his pickup. The engines fade into the night, leaving only the hum of the neon sign. Lila exhales, her hands trembling as she closes the diary. The bikers cheer softly, shaking hands with the locals. Frank approaches, his head bowed. "Didn't expect to be here tonight, Lila, but this place, it's worth it." Ethan helps her back inside, where the booths remain empty, but the air feels lighter. Maggie smiles, her braid catching the light. "Caleb would have loved this," she says. Lila nods, writing in the diary. Ruby's place held its ground tonight. Strangers and locals stood together, proving that a diner's more than food, it's home. The storm has passed, but Lila knows the fight isn't over. She'll bake more pies, keep the light on, and wait for dawn to see who comes next. The first rays of dawn creep over Route 27, painting Ruby's place in soft gold, the cardboard patched window a fading scar from the night's standoff. Inside, Lila Thompson sets out trays of apple and cherry pies, their warm scent filling the diner as the jukebox hums to life for the first time in weeks, playing a soft country tune. The red booths, once empty, now brim with people, bikers in leather jackets, locals in flannel, and truckers with weary eyes, all drawn by Maggie's Diner Rider blog post and the news of last night's unity. Caleb's diary rests on the counter, its pages open to a passage about diners as neutral ground, a truth proven when bikers and locals stood together against Andy's threats. Lila's steady hands pour coffee. Steady despite the lingering adrenaline, each steaming mug a small victory. Ethan Carter moves behind the counter, his leather jacket swapped for an apron pouring refills with a quiet focus. Maggie, her braid catching the morning light, snaps photos for her blog, capturing the crowded booths and smiling faces. The post she shared last night telling of Ruby's Place, Caleb's dream, and the town's stand has gone viral with thousands of views and comments promising visits. Lila catches snippets of conversation. A biker praises the pie's flaky crust. A local swaps stories with a trucker about long hauls. The air buzzes with connection, starkly contrasting with the weeks of empty tables and whispered fears. Frank the trucker slides into his usual booth, his salt and pepper beard framing a sheepish smile. "Lila," he says, his voice low. "I was wrong about that biker Ethan. Didn't see this coming." He gestures to the full diner. "Your mom, Ruby, helped my wife years ago, brought pies to the hospital when she was sick, and never asked for a dime. I should have remembered that before judging." Lila nods, setting a slice of cherry pie before him. "Mom always said pie brings people together." Guess she was right. Frank's apology, small but sincere, feels like a crack in the town's old walls, widened by last night's courage. Word spreads that Andy, the gas station owner, has left town, his pickup gone, and his business sold. Lila learns from a regular that Andy's anger stemmed from more than the highway bypass. He'd lost family to hard times, blaming outsiders, and Lila's diner for drawing attention away from his struggles. His departure closes a chapter, leaving the town quieter, ready to heal. Lila feels pity, but no regret. Ruby's Place stands because she stood her ground. She opens Caleb's diary, writing, "Today, Ruby's Place became a home for all. Bikers, truckers, and locals shared pie, proving a diner can heal a town." Mom and Caleb would have smiled. As the morning unfolds, the bell jangles constantly. A biker with a grizzled beard orders peach pie, saying, "Heard about this place in Tennessee. Worth the ride." A local woman, hesitant at first, sits with a biker swapping stories of Ruby's roadside from decades past. Maggie's phone buzzes with comments. "On our way. Save us a slice." Lila serves her apron dusted with flour, her heart lighter. Ethan, wiping down the counter, catches her eye. "Caleb's dream," he says, his voice soft. "It's alive here." Lila nods, the diary's weight a reminder of her mother's legacy, now intertwined with Caleb's vision. By noon, the diner's alive with laughter, the jukebox cycling through old hits. A young couple new to town shares a booth with a biker, their chatter about road trips echoing Ruby's belief in food as a connection. Lila pauses, looking out at the parking lot, motorcycles, gleaming trucks parked alongside local cars. The cardboard window will be fixed soon, but the real repair is in the people. Their shared tables are a testament to what Ruby's Place can be. Lila writes another line in the diary. "Strangers became neighbors today, over pie and coffee." This is what Mom meant by keeping the light on. Though challenges remain, the storm has passed, and Ruby's Place shines brighter. A beacon for those seeking a place to belong. The midday sun bathes Route 27 in a warm glow, its light streaming through the newly repaired windows of Ruby's Place, where cardboard patches no longer mar the view. Lila Thompson moves behind the counter, her apron dusted with flour, as she serves apple pie to a packed diner. The red booths brim with bikers, truckers, and locals, their voices blending with the jukebox's soft rock melody. The scent of fresh coffee and warm crust fills the air, a testament to her mother's recipes that have turned Ruby's Place into a bustling hub since the standoff. Caleb's diary sits on the counter, its pages bridging past kindness and present hope, fueled by Maggie's viral Diner Rider blog post that brought strangers together. Lila's heart lifts with each jangle of the bell, but the weight of past struggles, unpaid bills, broken windows, lingers in her quiet moments. The bell rings, and a man in a crisp suit enters, carrying a briefcase. He introduces himself as Mr. Hayes from the Historical Society, eyes scanning the diner's chrome fixtures and red vinyl. "Lila Thompson?" he asks, extending a hand. She nods, wiping flour from her fingers. He says we'd like to register Ruby's Place as a historical landmark, opening his briefcase to reveal documents. Built in 1952, this diner served travelers during the segregated era, a black-owned haven when few existed on this highway. Its original fixtures, your mother's legacy, and this community's story make it significant. Lila's breath catches. Her mother Ruby opened Ruby's roadside against prejudice, serving anyone who walked through the door, truckers' families, even those turned away elsewhere. This recognition feels like her mother's hand on her shoulder. Hayes explains the benefits tax breaks grants and protection from development threats. Places like this are highway history, he says. They tell America's story, resilience community, especially under women like you and your mother. Lila's eyes trace the diner landing on Ethan, who's pouring coffee for a biker, his apron a far cry from his leather jacket. He catches her gaze, offering a rare smile, his usual stoicism softened by the diner's warmth. Lila thinks of the years she fought to keep this place alive, facing skepticism, vandalism, and dwindling receipts. The Historical Society's offer is a lifeline, easing the financial strain that once threatened to close her doors. She takes the documents, her fingers steady, but her heart racing. "Mom would have loved this," she says, her voice soft. "She built this place to feed people and give them a home no matter who they were." Hayes nods, handing her a pen. "That's why it matters. Sign in Ruby's Place will stand for generations." Lila signs each stroke a promise to her mother's memory. Ethan steps closer, reading over her shoulder. "Caleb would have been proud," he says, his voice low. "He wrote about places like this where people find more than food." Lila nods, her eyes misty. The diary contains her mother's kindness, Caleb's dream, and her fight to keep the light on. The bell jangles again as Frank enters, his salt and pepper beard framing a grin. "Heard about the landmark talk," he says, sliding into a booth. "About time this place got its due." He orders pie, sharing the booth with a biker who nods in agreement. The diner hums with life locals, swapping stories with travelers, the jukebox cycling through hits. Lila writes in Caleb's diary, "Today, Ruby's Place became a landmark, not just for its history, but for what it holds. Mom's love. Caleb's dream, a town coming together. The light stays on. The paperwork is filed, the grants promised, and the books once read now show black ink." Lila serves another slice, her heart full. Ruby's Place isn't just surviving, it's thriving, a beacon of history and hope on Route 27. The afternoon sun pours through the gleaming windows of Ruby's Place, casting warm light across the red booths, now filled with a lively mix of bikers, truckers, and locals. Lila Thompson moves behind the counter, her apron dusted with flour, as she slices apple and peach pies, their sweet aroma mingling with the rich scent of brewing coffee. The jukebox hums a classic rock tune, its melody weaving through the chatter of voices sharing stories. Caleb's diary rests beside the register, its pages filled with entries about diners as places of connection, a vision brought to life since Maggie's Diner Rider blog post turned Ruby's Place into a beacon on Route 27. The Historical Society's landmark designation has eased financial pressures, and the diner thrives, its tables full for the first time in years. The bell jangles as a Food Network crew arrives, cameras and microphones in tow, drawn by Maggie's blog and the story of a diner that united a town. Lila greets them, her hands steady despite a flutter of nerves. She says, "Welcome to Ruby's place," gesturing to the bustling room. The crew sets up, filming the chrome counter, the steaming coffee pots, and the pies cooling on racks. Her braid catching the light, Maggie shares Caleb's diary, reading an entry about Ruby's roadside stormy night, 1999. "Ruby fed me pie, no charge. Said food was love made visible." Lila's heart swells, remembering her mother's hands shaping dough, her voice insisting on kindness despite the town's prejudice. Now a fixture behind the counter. Ethan pours coffee for a biker, his apron a familiar sight. He pauses to share a story with the crew, his voice soft but clear. "Caleb fixed a guy's bike outside a diner once and wouldn't take payment. Said helping was part of the road." A local woman sitting nearby chimes in, her eyes bright. "Ruby brought pies to my family when we lost our home to a fire. Never forgot it." The camera pans to Frank, the trucker, who shares how Ruby's pies comforted his wife during her illness. The stories pile up like slices of pie, each one a thread in the diner's tapestry. Bikers recalling Caleb's kindness, locals remembering Ruby's generosity, travelers drawn by tales of a place where everyone belongs. The jukebox shifts to a soulful ballad, and the booths hum with new voices. A young trucker fresh from Ohio shares a tale of a diner where he found work after a rough patch, inspired by Maggie's blog. A biker with a grizzled beard talks of riding cross-country, chasing Caleb's map, finding Ruby's place at the heart of it. Kids from town linger outside, giggling, as bikers offer rides around the parking lot, their motorcycles gleaming in the sun. Lila serves another slice, her heart full. The Food Network producer. A woman with a sharp smile pulls Lila aside. "This place is perfect for our series of historic highway diners." Your story. Ruby's legacy. Caleb's dream. The town coming together is what America's about. During a break, Lila writes in Caleb's diary, "Strangers became family today over pie and coffee. Mom said every pie has a story. Today, they all came true." The crew films Ethan teaching a young trucker to crimp a pie crust, his hands steadier, now his grief softened by purpose. Maggie snaps photos, her blog buzzing with comments, "Best pie in 3 states. Authentic diner, honest people." The cameras pack up by sunset, but the booths stay full, the jukebox playing on. A local kid asks Lila about her mother, and she shares a memory of dropping pie filling at 8, Ruby laughing as they cleaned it together. The story draws nods from the crowd, binding them closer. As the day winds down, Lila looks out at the parking lot, motorcycles parked beside local cars, a symbol of the diner's new life. She writes one more line. "Ruby's place isn't just food. It's love made visible, one story at a time." The bell jangles as a new face enters, drawn by the buzz, and Lila serves another slice. The diner's light shines bright, and its tables are a testament to what her mother and Caleb believed: food and stories can heal, unite, and make a home for all. The pre-dawn quiet wraps Route 27 in a soft hush, broken only by the steady hum of Ruby's place's neon sign, its glow a beacon against the dark. Lila Thompson unlocks the diner at 2:00 a.m., earlier than usual, her hands moving through the familiar rhythm of prepping dough. The scent of cinnamon and apples fills the air, as new ovens hum their warmth, contrasting with the chill outside. The red booths gleam under fluorescent lights, the jukebox ready to hum, and Caleb's diary rests open on the counter, its pages filled with stories of diners, kindness, and dreams. A month after the Food Network's visit, Ruby's place thrives, designated a historical landmark, its tables full, its books in black ink. Yet Lila feels a quiet pull to mark this moment, to seal the legacy her mother and Caleb left behind. At 4:45 a.m., the bell jangles. Ethan Carter steps in his leather jacket, hanging beside Lila's apron, a permanent fixture. He slips on an apron, his hands steadier, as he rolls out dough, a skill honed over weeks in the kitchen. Behind him, two truckers follow new faces from Tennessee, drawn by tales of Ruby's place. Heard about this diner at a truck stop, one says, sliding into a booth. They say bikers and truckers get along here. Had to try the apple pie. Lila pours their coffee, a smile tugging at her lips. The bell rings again, and Frank enters carrying an old photograph earlier than usual. Found this in my dad's things, he says, handing it to Lila. It's Ruby's roadside 1952. Her mother smiling behind the counter, red booths gleaming. Thought it belonged here. Lila hangs the photo next to a painting of Ruby's roadside and Ruby's place, linked by a winding road, a gift from Maggie's biker friends. The images stand as a bridge between past and present, a testament to resilience. Ethan joins her, opening Caleb's diary to a blank page. Final entry today. He says, his voice soft but sure. Lila nods, her heart full. The Food Network feature aired last week, drawing travelers from 6 states, and Maggie's blog continues to buzz her latest post, announcing a sunrise gathering of Caleb's old crew. The bell jangles again as Maggie arrives, her braid swinging, followed by 4 bikers carrying crates of apples and flour. Kitchen help, she announces, grinning. Tommy's crew ready to bake. The morning unfolds in a flurry of activity. Motorcycles fill the parking lot, their chrome flashing in the dawn. Locals park across the street, watching, some joining the crowd. At 7:00 a.m., Lila unlocks the door, Ethan beside her. The diner fills bikers in leather, locals in flannel, truckers with road-weary eyes. Lila takes Maggie's microphone, her voice steady. Welcome to Ruby's place, where stories and pies find a home. Ethan steps forward, holding the diary. My brother Caleb dreamed of finding real diners, places that served more than food. He found Ruby's roadside 1 year ago, and its spirit lives here. He shares the story of the stormy night, Ruby's kindness, and the pie that changed Caleb's life. The crowd listens, pie plates emptying. A biker shares how Caleb helped fix his bike years ago. A local recalls Ruby's pies during hard times. The jukebox plays, coffee flows, and kids outside laugh as bikers give them rides. Lila writes in the diary that Caleb's dream wasn't just food. It brought people together, healing divides. Today, Ethan serves pie, truckers learn to bake, and locals share booths with strangers. The light stays on. By noon, the parking lot overflows, and the street is lined with cars. Lila hangs up her apron, looking at the photo, the painting, and Ethan's jacket. The bell will ring again tomorrow, and she'll be ready with hot coffee, fresh pie, and a light for anyone seeking a way home.